Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. You know, we're actually writing a book. I start next month, in a couple of weeks actually, writing my first book on homeownership. And the reason we're doing it is millennials have PTSD as it relates to home ownership from the Great Recession. When they were children, they watched the people around them that they loved dearly lose their homes. And so now they don't have any use for real estate. They don't actually want it. And so what we're doing is we're writing this book as it's basically a handbook. But what we're doing is we're taking the case to millennials that home ownership needs to be part of the American dream again. According to the National Association of Realtors, the average net worth, and I'm talking nationwide, of a homeowner is just over $300,000. The average net worth of a tenant is less than $8,000. Take that, multiply it by tens of millions of millennials that don't want real estate in their life, and we have an issue here. Okay. Right. And so part of what we're doing, and part of the reason we're doing it, is I want to take the case directly to millennials. I also want to show them that there are different ways to be able to buy a home with zero down. They can buy a home with an FHA loan, and their parents can gift them the down payment, the closing costs, the reserves, everything. They don't have to come out of pocket for a thing. VA, obviously, we know this is zero down, right? So there are options available. And I'm constantly, Peter, running into people, because I've been doing this for 31 plus years. I'm constantly running into people who are telling us that they thought they had to have 20% down. Nobody ever asked them if they had VA eligibility, and their VA eligibility, they could have purchased 10 years sooner with zero down. So you with me? So
I'm 100% with you. And I think that when you described it as PTSD, I think you hit it kind of spot on.
Yeah.
There's been a certain inertia that I've sensed in the young people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about people you love dearly, stepchildren, whoever, children, whoever, who are coming into that zone. And it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I mean, as soon as I could do it, I did it with as little as I could muster together to get the first starter place that you would want to get that was nice, that you could maybe build some equity up in it, flip it, not necessarily flip it like people flip houses today, but then go to the next level. And then, and all of that, all of the equity appreciation in real estate has been a significant source of net worth for everybody that I know.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want it, I want it for my daughter, who's a senior now. Fast forward, I did have a daughter, and she's now going to graduate from this spring from University of Arizona, Tucson, doing very well. I got her, did straight A's, and her last, like all kids, first couple of years, they're having a good time a little bit more than you would hope they would. But then they come around just like
it's part of the circle of life. Yeah.
and then go ahead and, improve in their scholastics and so forth. Yeah. But you want to have young people to have that opportunity. It's not good for our state where everything is getting to be where there's haves and there's these have-nots, and we're hollowing out the middle class. Where you need to take this is to the millennials, but the millennials also need everybody down to, I guess, whatever it is, Generation Z. Getting a little bit of political here. There needs to be a mandate up in Sacramento to pursue the programs that are going to allow this to occur in this state, so that people do not leave here to go to the proverbial migration to red states where they can buy a house and maybe don't even like it as much there as they would here if they could do it. We can do it here. There's no reason. It may be different.
Yeah.
And it may be a lot of fun. I mean, it may be, well, maybe you're not going to have the, house out in the way far away with a long commute, with a yard and things. Maybe that vision's going to change. Maybe it's going to be a little bit more in building in an urban area with some compromise to that. But I think that with, green spacing and different things that you can do in a community environment, you can have a huge uptick in the quality of life. People can raise families there. They could have all the benefits of working in San Diego downtown or any of the other areas wherever in California.
Yeah.
And we can make it happen. And we need to have the political willpower to seek that. And I think in a sense, demand it. I don't want to say demand it. Maybe that's too strong, but that's got to be a priority.
Well, if anybody's going to demand it, it's going to be us.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're now in a place where this is our state. This is our platform, right? This is our time to leave a stamp on this place and leave it better than the way we found it.
Right.
Okay. And by the way, the disparity you're talking about is now spreading. It's not just here. You're seeing it in Texas. You're seeing it in Florida. This disparity is spreading. It's not just here.
Right. And, part of it's spreading because in some respects, people are moving to.
Yeah, they're bringing it from here to there. Yeah.
And I have had a conversation. I remember very recently on my street, I've been practicing law for 31 years. I have a firm. I was fortunate enough to, being a partner with a firm before, went out on my own. I've had a good experience in the practice of law. Work really hard, work a lot of hours, still do it. Don't know if I'd want to visit that on a lot of people, but I would talk to them about the career path. But it was a calling for me. Yeah. I was going to say that my mother dug up an article when I was the paper boy of the month, and it said right in there that I wanted to go to law school, and I said that when I was 11.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
I did want to go. I did, but there was the economics of it weren't there for me when I graduated. I needed to work and make some money and do some things, and I aggressively wanted to move forward in that regard. And I had good experience with those companies.
So I have a quick question. Sorry to. So
I'll babble on if you don't.
Well, it's okay. So you worked. So you worked 8. You said 8 years.
8 years. I had 4 years with one company, 4 years with another company, and then I went to law school. And I didn't do it a night program or anything like that. I didn't think I could do that. Yeah. I actually did it in 2.5 years. I graduated, got my first job in the law down in San Diego. There were some issues with that firm. It basically firms were great. I had a great clerking position with the firm in San Diego. I had a great mentor in San Diego. And then I came up to a job opened up in the desert area where I live now in Palm Springs. And I went to a firm that did medical malpractice defense. And I did that for some years. And then I worked in Riverside for a while doing insurance defense work. Companies that the insurers hired us to defend their insureds.
Yeah.
And then after some years of that, I went to work for a firm that I was at for 16 years, became a partner, and then I went out on my own with my own firm of Martin and Bochnewich, and then Bochnewich Law Offices back in 2012. And I've been doing that for having my own firm for since 2012. But it did this month, the 15th was my 31st year in practice.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
It was great. And I'm very happy to have, I won't mention her name, but tomorrow a law student from University of San Diego, USD, going to come over, and if she wants to, she can maybe be a clerk for us over the summer.
Oh,
and
awesome!
Her folks live in Indian Wells and stuff, and so she's visiting up here for the holidays. And so I've become a fixture in the desert. I've been here since '93. Loved it. Gets hot in the summer. There's no question about it. But we go to San Diego when we can. Go up to Wild and whatnot. But I've been president of Desert Bar Association, president of Desert Estate Planning Council. I'm currently on the board of the Inland Empire Estate Planning Seminar and a variety of different charitable organizations in the Coachella Valley.
Yeah.
And that's where life is centered. My lovely wife, Luce. We have a big extended family, and we kids and grandkids and all that. So there's always people over the house all the time on holidays, 25, 30 people or whatever. It's a big conglomeration of folks. But getting back to what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, used to be put your head, shoulder to the wheel, nose to the grindstone, stay out of trouble, work hard. You're probably going to make it pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Might not get exactly what you want. It's pretty hard in all the years I've been in California to screw up that much. If you might have some setbacks.
Yeah.
Might, and people do. But now it's like, I think young people must feel that the ladder's been pulled up.
Yeah.
And they can't get up that ladder. And the people who are now more senior,
mm-hmm.
have to put the ladder back down.
Yeah.
To let them come up and not, revel in whatever you've accumulated or what equity you have. We have to make the housing stock affordable for people to get their foot in the door and get something started so that they can have that bucket of investment. Because I know you do investment, you want to do your 401k, you want to do all the things you do, but home ownership is a big part of it.
It is. It really is.
Because you can live in it. Once you get it paid off, you can live in it. Yeah. You can pay it off and you can live in it, or borrow against it or do whatever you want. But you can also live in it for the rest of your life.
And it continues to go up in value.
So
that's part of why we're writing the book, because we're literally, I have parents who are blue collar.
Right.
They've been blue collar for 60 years.
Right.
Never executives, nothing like that. Right. And they are worth a lot of money because they owned a home for the last 30 some years, 40 years. Right. And it's two things. I believe we have to take the case of the value of doing it so that it becomes a priority again. And then we need to show them how.
Right.
Because there's a fear, right? And the fear that you fear the most is the fear of the unknown. And if you're a millennial and you're not necessarily convinced that you should buy a house, you're fearful of what happens if you lose it, like they saw happen when they were kids. So we address that in the book. We're going to talk about deed in lieu thereof. We're going to talk about short sale. We're going to talk about loan modifications. We're going to talk about all the things, CFPB ombudsman. We're going to talk about all the things that are options for them now if life throws them a curveball.
Right. And one of the things that you could talk about, if we could ever get back to that spot, would be you get a house that might be a reach for you to afford, but you afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a reasonable rate on a mortgage. And then you say, I'm going to make some sacrifices along the way. And I'm going to throw a little bit more at the mortgage every year, one payment, two payment, whatever it is. Do it. It'll bring it down. You'll get them paid off quicker. It just works. And then you'll see, or when I went to law school, I had a house. I went back to living in an apartment, and I rented the house out, and it was, at that time, it was very close. I was going from law school, gave up a company car, was driving a 72 Volkswagen Westphalia van that was falling apart, couldn't even lock it. So, people would go into it when I was in school and roam around like the fellows, the homeless, the people downtown sometimes would do that. And, God bless them. That would happen. And I would go up and mow the lawn at the house for the people while I was doing it. This is my early 30s and just balancing everything.
Yeah.
But then you keep it, and it's like it becomes something that you can give to somebody else, or it becomes part of that cornerstone of I guess you would say net worth. And real estate is a huge part of it. I do trust and estate work, limited amount of estate planning, probably about 10% of my practice, but most of it is trust and estate litigation, people fighting over inheritances, to synopsize it. Been doing that for a very long period of time, handled the states 45 million, 30 million, 2 million, all across the board, busy. I'm in court regularly on these kinds of matters. And I can't tell you how many people have a substantial net worth from simply owning homes and paying them off over time, and how many people who are very smart from people who come across the border, put their foot down, they're working in the fields, maybe in the Coachella Valley, you know, and they bought some little place, and they got another little place, and they got another little place, and it doesn't look like much to start. But then at the end, we're looking at it as this person who you wouldn't suspect necessarily has a pretty substantial net worth, and it's open to everyone and every immigrant and every person, no matter where they come from.
Yeah. So my favorite stories is a Cuban immigrant that couldn't find a place to rent in another state, shall remain nameless, but couldn't find a place to rent because he had a very thick accent. English was a distant second language for him, and he was a landscaper. Nobody would rent him a house. He ends up doing landscaping for a mortgage banker who talks to him about buying a fourplex.
There you go.
Okay. He saves up his money. He buys a fourplex. Now his kids, his two boys that he had, they're now one of the largest landlords in the world.
There you go.
Thousands and thousands of doors, Peter. And it all started with nobody would rent him a place. And so he bought a place that was a fourplex, owner occupied, with an FHA mortgage, 3.5% down. Okay. That instantly cash flowed. He lived there for free.
Right. You're right. You've got to be able to make that step, though. You've got to be able to put yourself in a position where, I mean, you're taking a risk, but the risk is really doing nothing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because if you don't put yourself at some point where you're going towards ownership, then, and you're perpetually renting, that doesn't seem like necessarily an option. I mean, I suppose I could see a circumstance where if someone said, well, I have to rent in downtown San Francisco or Manhattan. Okay, well, you might do that, but if you're making enough money that you could buy someplace outside,
yeah,
do that as well. I mean, it's not, there's a lot of different ways to go. And if you put on that seminar, I want to know when that seminar is going to be for young people, because I'm totally on this. I'm totally on that. We in the state of California, put all the political people from both parties, wherever you're from, we have to address the situation of the affordability of young people and young families to make it in California. That has to be the priority. That should be the priority at the governor's office, and it ought to be the priority for both the Assembly and the Senate in Sacramento.
History repeats itself.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know if you remember this, and if you don't, it's okay. But in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a huge push on we've sort of, as a nation, we've been at 62.5% home ownership of the total population, that kind of thing, sort of hovered around there, up, down, above it, below it. There was a huge push on to get that number up. The push was everybody needs to have the American dream. Everybody needs to have the opportunity, right? Okay. So we had two options here. We had two ways we could go. The first one was we go to work, and I mean to work. Okay. This is not going to be easy. We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.